Tiger fans, what's up, guys? So this video is not going to be super long, but I didn't want to miss my streak of uploading every week. I've been doing pretty good. I actually have to go drive 1,500 miles over the next 48 hours. I'm going to Colorado. So I'm not going to be able to keep up with the Tigers as close this week as I have this season. But when I come back, my brother is going to be here in Ohio, so there's a chance next week's video will be like really OG for people who watched my videos from 8-9 years ago when my brother used to sometimes be in it. So yeah, so let's get this going. A lot of stuff happened in Tigerland this week. So we had the All-Star game, we had the draft, we had some moves today because today's the first day of the unofficial second half, even though they're past the halfway point. And then we had some roster moves. So let's start with the roster moves real quick. Nomar Mazara got DFA'd. I've been saying it the last 5 videos that they were going to DFA Mazara. I'm not surprised that they DFA'd Mazara. They needed DFA Mazara. And Willie Castro got optioned to AAA. Willie Castro really hasn't hit that much this year. They've had nothing but a revolving door at shortstop. And now that Zach Short, who has he's kind of shored up it. He strikes out a lot, but he has a good glove. You know, he seems to make a lot of plays where he bobbles the ball, but I guess he's shored up the position is better than anyone else has because Nico Goodrum's been hurt. Willie Castro hasn't, obviously ain't it. And then Isaac Paredes, he got called up, but I don't know. Like, I kind of see how this is a foreshadowing thing because I think they have a move here pretty soon to trade Scope. And I think that this is it. This is Isaac's last opportunity really to be a guy that they think of as the forefront of the future of the team as an everyday player because this is his 3rd opportunity so far this year, and all 3 times he's come up. Now, mind you, he's hit the ball harder and more consistent. And I mean, he's a guy who's a good hitter. He's not like a big power hitter, but you know, you look at what he did in the Mexican League this past year when he went and played winter ball. He was the Mexican League batting champ. And every level that he's been in, for the most part in the minor leagues, he's hit. He's drawn walks. He hasn't struck out a lot. So this is now his 3rd opportunity with the Tigers, and I think there's a Jonathan Scope move foreshadowing about to happen because I think what's going to end up happening is they're going to end up putting Jamer at first and Isaac at third and give him everyday ABs and have Nico Goodrum and Zach Short. Nico plays second, and then whatever they wanted, and have Zach Short play shortstop. So I think that is a big reason why this move is happening. And then Derek Hill's getting an opportunity, which I said before that when they DFA'd Mazara, that it's going to be an opportunity for Derek Hill and Daz Cameron to get everyday ABs out there in the outfield, along with Robbie Grossman to be in the rotation and Akil Baddoo. So they have more than enough outfielders, but there's going to be more than enough at-bats available for these guys, and Nico Goodrum will play the outfield as well, for these guys to prove. Because clearly this year, and I've said this before, and I'm not going to reiterate it too long, but this with Hinch, it's different. And, you know, if this was last year, Mazara probably would have made the team the whole year because they would have kept him out there because he was a veteran bat. But the dude sucks. He can't fucking hit. He's supposed to be a power hitter, and he can't fucking hit. He just hits opposite field singles when he does hit. He's barely hitting over 200. He doesn't get on base. He's not even a good outfielder. He's 26. He was once a top 25 prospect, about to wash out the league. Someone's probably going to take a flyer on him and be in the minors somewhere, or it might be a bench bat, but his time is coming up in the big leagues. So that happened today. So Hill's up, Isaac's up. I think a Jonathan Scope move is about to happen sometime in the next week or two. That's why they get Isaac up, because I think Candy's going to be at first. Isaac will be at third, short, and then Nico Goodrum will be a rover. Outfield, if they need him a day, give Robbie Grossman a blow. Don't matter. They'll have him at second base. So I just see the inevitable coming. He's playing too good. He's going to get traded. Let's move on to the draft. The Tigers went and drafted. So Sunday was a hard day for me because I was so fucking pissed at how that Minnesota game went. So before we jump into the draft, let's talk about that Minnesota series. Fuck that Minnesota series. That's all I'm going to say. Fuck that Minnesota series. I was so fucking livid after those 4 fucking games. Because the Tigers should have went in there after they took 2 or 3 from Texas. They should have went into Minnesota and swept the fuck out of them. The fucking Twins had not even 5 runs scored in 4 games between innings 1 and 5. From 5 to 9, I guess you can include 10 because the last one in extra innings, they scored over 30 fucking runs. The Tigers went into Minnesota, and I was going to make a video Sunday. I just did not have time because I was prepping for Colorado. This whole week has been a clusterfuck because I'm about to drive 20 fucking hours. But anyways, they went into Minnesota, and they blew every single one of those fucking games. They fucking blew game 1. They come back and tie game 2. And then they lose it in the 8th inning because they're shit bullpen. And then games 3 and 4 were fucking carbon copies of one another. It was ridiculous. Get a lead, a 4-run lead, both games. Early 4-run leads. You get good starts, good enough starts. And the bullpen blows it. And game 4 was the worst. I guess they were both bad. Because the 7th inning and 8th inning in games 3 and 4 were identical. No reliever could get it out. It didn't matter who he put out there. Soto, walk guys, hits. And they tried to put Soto out there to stop the bleeding. So they had a chance. Cisnero couldn't get the job done. Then what they had to do, they had no choice but to put Derek Holland out there. The bullpen was literally spent because no one over those last 2 games could get it out after the 7th inning or later. Or 6th inning or later, I should say. Because in game 3, Alex Kirilloff hits a 2-run shot, and that was 4-2. And then before you know it, it's fucking 10-4. Like, what the fuck? And then game 4, they had to bring Derek Holland out because he come off the IL, and it was the only guy they had because they didn't want to use Cisnero, and they already burned Soto. They had no one. They had to put him out there. Holland, he's a nice guy. Like, honestly, you can go into his Twitch streams, and he's just the coolest dude. He'll talk to you. He doesn't back down from his failures. Like, you could talk shit to him, and he owns up to it. But he fucking sucks. He fucking sucks. He has been one of the most useless signings of this year. He's a lefty that can't get lefties out. And you don't want him in there against a righty. So he comes out in the 8th. He gets the final out of the 8th inning. The Tigers are down. And actually, I think I'm mixing up games 4 and 3. Game 3, they got their asses handed to them in game 3. And they blew the 4-run lead. So game 4, same situation, but they're down. It's 9-5. Yes, yeah. No, it's 9-6. 9-6. Because Akil Baddoo hit a home run. Okay. Excuse me. The series is whatever. So they get the bases loaded with nobody out. Jake Rogers comes up. You know, he's been hitting a little bit of a rough patch, whatever. First time he's ever seen Trevor Rogers. Dude goes dead goddamn central grand slam. I'm going crazy. I'm like, this game is nuts. Holy shit. Oh, go-ahead grand slam in the 9th. And they needed this win because of how bad the first 3 games were. At least you take one. You know, you'd come out the series with at least a W. You go into the All-Star break, a couple days off, give everyone a chance to reset. Derek Holland comes out, walking to the fucking mound. That fucking retard-looking fuck gets the first out, and I'm sitting there on the edge of the couch, just like holding my face like this. He's facing a Twins catcher. I think he's got like a couple career hits, 1 career home run. A lefty of all fucking things, for fuck's sake, his jersey number was 70. If that tells you anything about how much the Twins think of him in their long term for so far this year at least. He gives up a goddamn game-tying home run. And I'm just like, I fucking knew it. I fucking knew it. He was going to come out here and blow this motherfucking game. He gets one out. A lefty's up to bat. And he gives up to this fucking rookie kid with one career home run. And it's lefty on lefty. And he hit a tank. A fucking tank. I was so goddamn fucking mad. And I'm still pissed. Because the Tigers should have won all 4 games. They had leads. They had opportunities. But this is the worst the bullpen's been since they were 9-24. Because, it's not like they had an outstanding bullpen. It's not like they've been lights out this year. They got one of the worst bullpen, but they've had dudes that can at least get outs. Like Soto has been the guy who was their lone all-star representative. And, Sestero's been up and down, but he can occasionally get outs and whatnot. And it hurts that Michael Fulmer's been hurt, so, the bullpen's been a little bit fucking scrambled. But they had a chance to sweep that series, and they would have been only 3 games under 500 starting today, the unofficial second half of the season. I'm still fucking mad because, they're a game ahead of the Twins, but they could have been creeping up on second place. And it's like, they're not going to win the division or a wild card, but come on, man. You still want to see them win as much as they can. You still want to see them, prove that this rebuild is what it is and it's actually moving forward. You jumped fucking Cleveland when you were supposed to be 5th place this year. That's more than you could ask for out of this year. And it just makes me mad because of how well they have been playing the past 2 months of 500 or better baseball. And you going up against the shit-ass fucking Twins who are trash and they're about to blow their fucking team up. And you had fucking leads, and that happened. I'm still fucking pissed. That was one of the worst played fucking series the Tigers have played in a couple of months. And that's not even counting when they got their asses handed to them a couple of times by the Angels and the White Sox. They got their fucking ass beat. But then at least they salvaged the game. This was competitive games where they had leads, and they couldn't get outs when in the final 6 outs or 9 outs of the game. Piss poor series. Piss poor series the Tigers played against the Twins. And that was an embarrassment that they got swept by the Twins when they had the leads they had and the opportunities they squandered, especially Game 4 when Rodgers hits that fucking go-ahead grand slam. That was pathetic. Pathetic. But neither here nor there. So I was mad about the Twins series, but I'm like, all right, well, cool, the draft's on tonight. Because I had watched the Futures game. That was cool. Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson at one time in the Futures game, they had all the hits for the AL. Riley Green had both hits going into the final inning because they only played a 7-inning game. And then Torkelson had a hit. And then they got a couple of runs finally in the last inning of the game because the AL did not play that well. The Futures game, they didn't. But I thought that was pretty cool, and they batted back-to-back with one another in the lineup, too. I thought that was pretty sweet, too. So, it was like, whatever, that's cool. And, Tigers got their ass fucking swept by the Twins. But we get to the draft, and I was really hoping they get Jack Leiter. And I knew it was a stretch because I know how high he was. Now, the draft, from all the research that I did and all the podcasts that I listened to, that there really wasn't a consensus number 1 overall pick. So, what that means is guys like Strasburg, guys like Bryce Harper, or when the Tigers took Casey Mize, those dudes were like, yep, no doubt about it. They're 1-1s. Don't even worry about if the Tigers are taking this dude or whatever prospective franchise was, the Nationals and that other circumstance. You might as well worry about 2 through the rest because this guy's going. Well, with the top 10, there was a lot of parity, and they didn't know exactly who was going to go 1-1. They thought there was a lot of movement. Well, the Pirates take a catcher, Henry Davis, and I'm like, cool, because there was a chance that Jack Leiter was going to go to the Pirates. I'm like, well, cool. If Texas passes on him, the Tigers are for sure going to take him. Well, Texas takes Leiter. I'm like, fuck. but they're probably going to take Mayer because Mayer was the best high school positional player available in the draft. Some people thought that Pittsburgh was going to take him. And the Tigers right now, they have a lot of pitching in their system, but they lack positional player depth. Mayer would have made sense, particularly in the middle of the diamond. They need players, considering that they can't find a shortstop now after they had $1 million and fucking Alcantara and Castro and what a fucking disaster that's been. But anyways, so I'm like, well, they're probably going to get Mayer. Well, I knew this was a thing. The Tigers like Jackson Jobe. And everything I've been reading for like a month, everyone kept saying, don't count the Tigers out to take Jobe. Don't count the Tigers to not take Jobe because they like him. Kind of like a David Dombrowski pick where he's a big right-hander, throws hard, but has issues with walk. Well, the Tigers take Jobe, and I was a little confused. I knew they weren't going to take someone like Kumar Rocker because Kumar Rocker's stock really had fallen coming into the draft. The Mets ended up taking him at 10. That's how much. And some people thought he was going to be a top 5. If you look at mock drafts from a month and a half ago, Kumar Rocker was like no lower than 5th, 6th most of the time. So he fell. So I was a little confused by this, but here's my take. The Tigers right now have already started their clocks on Casey Mize, Matt Manning, and Tarek Skubal. Green and Torkelson, Dingler as well, you can put him in there. They're flying through the minor leagues right now, but they already got the big three, the three-headed monster, already up in the big leagues, which means the Tigers have realistically 5 years to put a team together in that window that's going to compete for a playoff spot in a division, but give you multiple chances to win a World Series. So they're probably not going to do it next year. Next year, you need to be knocking on the door for a wild card. Then you need to be a divisional contender and making the playoffs. 3 years left. Now you better be in these last 3 because if you're big guys like Torkelson, Green, all those guys, and especially the three-headed monster that you already started the clocks on, if you're not in a position by this time, and these guys are pitching how they're pitching, your rotation with a contract's already going up. I mean, look what Trevor Bauer's fucking dumbass got for just a couple years for L.A. You know, if these guys pitch how they pitch, you're looking at 3 dudes that, if they're as good as they're supposed to be, that are going to be north of $25 million a year. So you could have, realistically, if these guys are what they're supposed to be, $75 million allotted every year if you try to sign these guys long-term in your rotation just for 3 pitchers. So by 3 years left of team control, you need to be a team that's ready to fuck shit up, that's already in a spot that's making the playoffs and winning a division. Because if you get to your last couple of years here and you're not already there, you're already facing another rebuild. Because because you can't re-sign everyone, or you better hope that you have supplemental guys like free agents that you had signed that are going to take a place of that, or you had supplemental pieces in your farm system that developed that you weren't expecting. Now, my point of this is Jobe is not going to be ready for at least 3 to 4 years because he's a high school pitcher. You got to understand, he's 18. So by the time you get to this window where you got 3 years left of those 3 guys, by the time Jobe's ready, you're only going to have 2. And Jobe's only going to be 21, 22 years old. Well, you got to hope that he develops fast and can contribute fast because of where you took him. I mean, he's a 1-3 pick. Because you look at Casey Mize and Tarek Skubal, for example, or even Matt Manning. They came up last year, got their heads knocked in a little bit. This year, they're pitching a lot better. Matt Manning has already faced adversity, and, we don't know what he's going to do the rest of the season. He gets more innings and, and whatnot, and he sees more. Jobe might come up and might not be anything. He could suck to his 4th year in the big leagues, and then, you don't even know your team's at, because by his 4th year in the big leagues, 3rd year in the big leagues, those 3 guys will be free agents already. And then Spencer and Riley Green will already be close to becoming free agents. So my point of this, in a long, extremely worded, poorly fashion, is that you drafted someone out of high school that's not going to be ready to contribute for up to 4 years. 3 years if he advances fast. And can be come up really, really young. So I don't understand drafting talent that high that isn't really going to affect the rebuild and help you win a title or try to win a title, not for a long time. That's why people draft college talent, because someone like Jack Leiter could be up in the big leagues by the end of next year or make it out of spring training the following. It's a year and a half, 2 year kind of guy, to where, okay, you'd have 3 to 4 years left of Casey Mize. But I understand that he was off the board. But my point with this is they drafted someone that I don't think is going to be here to even help win a title. Now, here's what I think, and I'm going to finish this off because I got to get going. I honestly think Job is trade bait. I think that the Tigers are going to let him sit in the minor leagues for a couple years. He's going to get his feet wet. They're going to move him through the system slowly because of how young he is. Let him get some innings. And I think they're going to hope his draft stock rises and his draft prospect capital rises. And I honestly think when the Tigers get to a point, hopefully by when they have 3 years left of team control of all those guys, and they're, a really good team that's looked upon as a potential World Series team, that I think they're going to end up dumping him. I don't ever think Job is ever going to throw a pitch for the Detroit Tigers in an MLB uniform. I honestly think they drafted someone really high. They had a lot of hype. People have said that he had the best stuff. He was the best high school pitcher and had some of the best raw talent, including college guys, Leiter, out of anyone in the draft. So I honestly think that he's just there, that the Tigers are going to let him stew down there, let him hopefully overachieve and become someone that is a top 50 prospect in baseball, and the Tigers flip him for a piece, either a pitcher or a hitter, when they're ready to compete for an impact player. Because that's what Dombrowski used to do, and that's why, their farm system was what it was, because all their top-tier talent, like Jacob Turner, for example, he was a consensus top 50 prospect. The Tigers dealt him, along with Brian Flynn. They dealt him, and Rob Brantley, and they dealt him. And then when it came time to where, these guys were older and you didn't have anybody in the farm to come up and help supplement your team, well, then you end up with Dave Dombrowski out with the Red Sox, and then Al Avila's taking over and dumping contract because he picked up all these people and then made these bad free agent signings to try to extend the window, and then you were left with the clusterfuck that was known as the 2016 Detroit Tigers, where it started to get blown up. But I don't think he's ever going to throw a pitch for the Tigers. I don't. The draft overall, the Tigers drafted a lot of pitchers, a shit ton of pitchers. They actually got another pitcher named Ty Madden, who was the Tigers drafted 2 top 10 players. They're the first team since the 2015 Astros to do that. Basically, they had 2 players rated in the top 10 best players in the draft. They were able to draft at 3 and 32. So they had a good draft based off of where they got players of dudes who fell down and where they were actually ranked in the draft. So they did a good job there. But I don't think that he ever throws a pitch for the Tigers. I think this is purely a move where they're going to let him get some steam. They're going to let him hopefully build up some hype and gain some ranking in the prospect rankings. And I think they're going to end up dumping him off for someone who's an impact player at the time when they need an impact player. Kind of like in 2011, right when the Tigers were first opening up that window, getting ready to start winning. What they do, they needed another starting pitcher, so they went out and they traded for Doug Fister, and they traded away Luke French and some Martinez guy who was a third baseman, I forget it. And then they needed more starting pitching. So they got Anibal Sanchez. And they traded Jacob Turner and Rob, what was his name? Not Rob Flynn. It might have been Brian Flynn. He was a catcher. Traded him to the Marlins and got Anibal Sanchez and Omar Infante. 2 impact players. And what happened that year in 2012? That's when that thing was made. And Jacob Turner was their best prospect. They made the World Series. So I think Job is a similar situation and a similar draft pick. I don't think he's ever going to throw a pitch for the Tigers, and I think this is exactly why they drafted him. They want a guy that has so much ceiling and so much potential, but they want him to flash some of it so they can deal him for someone who's an impact player at that time when they need it, when they're close to being a World Series contender. So that's all I got for you guys today. I'm sorry this video went as long as it did. I will be back next week. Like I said, I'm going to see if my brother wants to do a video with me while he's down here visiting me in Ohio. And we'll go over the week that was. So have a good one, guys. Hope you enjoy the video. I'll talk to you next week.